YNABers, my name is Jesse Meekum from YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget. This is another Whiteboard Wednesday. Most people, most of the time, feel like they need a budget right around the school year, where we're kind of ramping up. Summer's been crazy, things are settling down, and now we're getting into a routine. The kids maybe have had a couple weeks of school, or maybe you're just hitting like a summer high and now you're back to the grind. Most of the time in our data, we get a little bit of a blip on activity. A little more interested, a little more people saying, or a few more people saying, I think I need a budget. Of course, this one's obvious. The new year, everyone's like, I need to lose weight, I need to do better with my money, I need to, something else. And then the treadmill's gathering dust in the corner with a bunch of clothes hanging on it to dry. And, around February, people fall off. We see people stick longer than that, but we really try and ride with you for a while on this big high of I need a budget, it's time to fix my finances, New Year's resolution type of vibe. Same thing here, but smaller, and you feel this big resolve. And so just a quick little tip today as far as Whiteboard Wednesday goes. Nothing to do with budgeting, but we have a lot around habits. And this is something that I learned from BJ Fogg. He teaches the Tiny Habits. You can join his Tiny Habits program. It is phenomenal. His name's BJ Fogg. He works in the, I think it's the Persuasion Lab is something he founded over at Stanford. I think that's what it is. But just a super bright guy and came up with this idea of tiny habits. Not willpower. You don't use willpower to make behavioral change. You just use these tiny habits. And I've had him on the podcast before, talked about it several times. A little bit of a refresher for you that already know about it, or something brand new. If you're more interested in it, go to Tiny Habits, or just Google Tiny Habits. It's BJ Fogg's site, and you can learn a ton more about it. He's thought about it 6 ways from Sunday, as any academic would do. So instead of focusing on your sheer grit, your willpower, you just want to build a tiny habit. If you want to floss, he would say after and then you think of a behavior that you do automatically. So maybe if I'm going to floss after I brush my teeth, we'll say after I put the cap on the toothpaste. If you're one of my kids, you don't do that, so we couldn't use that behavior. But if you were me, you put the cap on the toothpaste. After I cap the toothpaste, I will. And then BJ would say you should floss a tooth, right? Or maybe you should get out the floss, perhaps. But the idea is that you choose a tiny thing, just a little thing. For YNAB, something like, after I get the receipt from the cashier, I will pull my phone out. So then you're holding the receipt and you're holding your phone. Maybe magic will happen. Maybe you'll record that transaction, trying to build that habit. Or maybe you want to build a habit of a Saturday budget review. So you say, after I put away my coffee mug, I will blah. Or after I close the door from grabbing the newspaper, do people still get newspapers delivered? I'll do that. Or after I hang the leash on the hook, after walking the dog, I will sit down at the computer. That kind of thing. You're not saying, I will then spend an hour reviewing my budget. Please don't. That wouldn't be useful. But you're trying to decide what kind of a tiny little thing would trigger that good behavior, or more of that good behavior that you're looking for. So if I wanted to do the phone thing, I want to be able to record my transactions at the time of purchase. You nail it. Say, after I get the receipt from the cashier, I will pull out my phone. Not anything else, just that little thing. Or after the cashier tells me the balance of the transaction, I will pull out my phone. If you do that just a few times, none of that 28 days, 21 days, none of that. Just a few times, that tiny little trigger, a reliable trigger that happens every time, and then a little tiny thing that you do afterward, you will be amazed at how quickly you can build up a positive habit. I do this with all sorts of things. Saying thank you to people for certain things, doing certain stuff with my kids as far as being a dad and trying to praise them or correct them in a way that's more effective. Anytime I run into a good idea, I just think, okay, how can I implement that? And what kind of automatic behavior can I attach to it? And what tiny thing could I use to lead me down the path toward that positive behavior? So think about that, and think about what kind of habits you want to build around your new financial life. You have a little resolve, so just use that little bit of resolve to figure out your automatic trigger and then that tiny thing you'll do. And for more information, go to BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits. He knows this backward. I mean, he invented it. So he obviously knows it backward and forward. And any little nuances or gotchas or cases or things like that he's thought of and can answer all your questions. So I encourage you to check it out and then see how you can implement that into your YNAB behavior to make sure that you are budgeting for ultimate and total success. I will see you all next week. I'm looking forward to it.